I unfroze some hummus, and I'm happy to report it's still edible. Culinary tricks for days over here.
Yum. Apparently, I've developed a Marge Simpson giggle, so that's great.
I've reached the point where 85% of the time my misplaced glasses are indeed on my head.
Searching for a specific tech adapter when you live out in the country is dang dongle difficult.
Have such a good day. Hello, world. Welcome back to another fun, exciting edition of Have Such a Good Day, the show that wants desperately for you to do just that.
Hey, have such a good dayers. Are you ready for us to yak it up?
Yak.
We try to commiserate with y'all out there who are on the adulting thing. Are you guys adulting out there? Because we certainly are.
We might have some minors listening to the show. If so, welcome. All ages are welcome. Sorry for the F-bombs every so often. But yeah, it's great. I think in the last show or the last couple shows, we were like, hey, if you're over 85, let us know. We didn't get any emails about that, but if you're the silent type, that's cool.
We had someone who mentioned their age and their year of birth on Discord to kind of play along, but we didn't get anybody writing in about 80 and above. So still, if you guys are out there, please raise your hand. Send us a note, hi@havesuchagoodday.com. We would love to hear from you. Hear about all your life wisdom and all that.
Yeah. And by the way, if you're not in our Discord, if you're a patron at the $5 and up level, maybe you're not, and we'd love to have you, or you just haven't hooked up Discord yet, but we yak it up in between shows with our Discord fam. And it's a lot of fun. So consider joining us there.
Yakety yak. That's what we're so good at, Sarah.
I'd be like, don't talk back, but I'm like, actually do talk back. Because that's the whole idea. I mean, Heather and I could just yak it up, but it's more fun with a bigger group.
Yeah, we like to start the day with a good old fashioned yak.
Yeah. I like yaks, actually.
I do too. They're animals that aren't really, I don't feel like people talk about yaks very much. Where do they live?
Speaking of the country, we both live in the country. There are a lot of llamas around here, apparently.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm probably going to get this wrong, but, well, llamas are cool, although they do spit sometimes.
But they have beautiful eyelashes.
Yes, they do. They're just
so
great
cute.
looking creatures. Camel-like, but sheep-like also.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's something, I think it has to do with llamas being really good at grazing, or I know what it is. I'm not saying everybody who has a llama is doing this, but I think there is sort of a tax loophole where you can say that you own a farm of some kind, as long as you have a certain amount or type of animal on that farm. So it's like maybe beyond, cats, dogs, cows.
Yeah.
And it allows people to maybe pay less.
That is interesting. Well, I should look into getting a llama. What I did see the other day, though, I saw a silver fox. And I know that, I think you saw one recently. It ran across the road, and man, those are majestic creatures. That's like one real plus about living so far out here is you get to really see wildlife. I love it. It's pretty cool.
I don't know if the fox I saw was silver. I don't totally know my fox types, but it was a small fox. And yeah, Otis was like, what was that? That was a wild animal, but quite small.
The only way I know my foxes is via the Roald Dahl book, Fantastic Mr. Fox, and then the movie adaptation by Wes Anderson. So that's where my fox knowledge comes from.
Oh, I should watch that again. I remember liking it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Heather, I don't know how your week has been. Mine, sometimes when we kind of say like, hey, what have we all been doing since the last week? I sit at my desk and I'm like, I got nothing. Because what is everyone even doing? It's same
or you
old
forget too.
Right? Yeah, like what was I doing 3 days ago?
Yeah.
I don't know, something. But we're getting to the point where we're almost coming up on a full year of pandemic. Mm-hmm. And, we're end of February, and there are a lot of great things about it. There's some blossoms in my neighborhood that come out sort of at this time of year where you're like, okay, spring isn't exactly around the corner, but I'm starting to see signs of life. But more than anything, especially because it was a friend's birthday the other day, and his birthday party last year was the last time I hung out with a bunch of people, and ate good food and hugged and, it was a merry old time. And that was a year ago. I haven't done that
Wow.
since. I mean, I've seen people here and there, but not like that.
Not in a big
It
group.
was like a full on birthday
Yeah.
party. Yeah. So I was like, wow, that really was a solid year ago.
Wow.
And I know that a few episodes ago when we were getting into 2021 and talking a little bit about New Year's resolutions, I had said, yeah, I really want to make a more concerted effort to just, take care of myself, sleep better, exercise, bring that up a little bit, just stuff that I felt like I was lagging on. And I didn't really do that right away. First couple weeks of January, nothing really changed. I was kind of just puttering around doing my thing. And it's remarkable how much my attitude has waxed and waned about being the best version of myself when, there's plenty of stuff to do, borderline lonely sometimes, borderline relieved sometimes that I can't go be social everywhere all the time.
Totally.
And just kind of being apathetic and then sometimes feeling motivated. And because I am sort of a person who's obsessed with statistics and calculating things and numbers overall, I remember going into this last year because so many folks that you and I know were like, I'm in a city, I'm feeling like really trapped. This is scary. There's people all over the place. I don't agree with how some people are handling the pandemic versus the way that I'm doing it. And I was like, I got it made, man. I'm just chilling in the woods.
Totally.
And that lasted a few months where I'm like, I really timed this well.
Talk about good timing. I know.
Talk about good timing. Yeah. And I was feeling pretty like, I mean, obviously like life was not positive overall. It was a scary time, but I felt lucky. And then it kind of went into a trough where I was like, fuck this. And I know that I was doing it. And that's where I start getting apathetic, where I'm just like, screw it. I don't care how much water I drank today. And, I don't even care about working out. Like, I'm just going to do the same walk I did yesterday. And I don't want to listen to a new album of some artist that just came out that everyone's raving about. I just don't want to. And it's, I don't know, like if people call that like borderline depression, but it was just, it's like I've been up and down a lot.
Sure.
But I think because it's like, okay, we're nearing an anniversary of sorts of like when life changed. Lately, over the last month, in fact, specifically the last 30 days, because I put it on my calendar 30 days ago from today, 30 days prior, and we're now at 30, is I am back on my stats.
Nice.
Yeah. So, and this is like, it's a combo of, hey, you don't want to work out, Sarah? You like working out. You 100% of the time feel better after you do it. Just do it.
And maybe the stats help motivate you, like tracking stuff.
Oh, they absolutely do. So, and this is like, again, it's, for some people, this would be a nightmare and it is borderline obsessive, but what else do I have to do? So it's like, with my Fitbit app, because I wear a Fitbit watch, I know how many steps I took in a day. Steps are a little like stupid because if you have short legs, you're probably going to take little bird steps. And so you're like my steps and a tall person who takes long strides, I'm just going to step more than them. Doesn't mean that I'm walking more, but miles, we would walk the same amount of miles, it's like a finite number. And then like drinking water. I've always thought, I drink water. I'm thirsty. I pee all day. I'm drinking water. But when you really measure how much water you're drinking, and I've gotten it to a point where I'm like, if I use that mug, it's 12 ounces. If I use this mug, it's 10. I now, even if I'm like, I don't really care what mug I'm drinking, the size of my gulps and how many gulps I take when I go to get water or tea or whatever, I know now it's like, that was 9 ounces.
Yeah.
Like it's down to a science.
Wow,
and I
I'm
record every
impressed.
single thing. Yeah, and it's a friend of mine who she's actually trying to lose weight, so her motivation's a little bit differently. And I was like, everyone always says record everything, and it's annoying. Like you have to like have your like. Well, I mean, I don't have a little notebook, a physical one, but that's basically what it is.
You
like
wouldn't.
every time you eat or drink something, you kind of, record it. And she was like, that sounds like something that would like put me in a dark place because I'd feel like really bad if I failed one day over the next. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. That's definitely true. I think for me, it's like, it really keeps me on task. Sometimes, like last night, I ate like 9 large spoonfuls of almond butter right before bed. that's not a thing to do. Like once I started, I just couldn't stop, and I was like, F it. But if I was trying to lose weight, that would maybe make me feel like really bad.
Did it
right?
help you
'Cause
sleep or did it keep you awake?
Neither.
Okay.
I mean, it was just almond butter,
Yeah.
just a bunch of fat, really.
Yeah.
But I mean, I love almond butter.
Oh, yeah.
So, but things like that is like where I'm like, you know what? Keeping me honest. I don't know why I did that last night. It was like 11 p.m. Kind of weird.
You had a hankering. I mean,
I
don't blame
did.
yourself.
I mean, a scoop of almond butter, peanut butter, whatever it is. It's like it's so dense.
Well, which one do you like better? Do you like almond butter better than peanut butter? It's a tongue twister.
I do. Yeah, I've been drinking. I've been eating almond butter. We're all over the place. I've been eating almond butter exclusively instead of peanut butter for years. I don't even really eat PB&J with almond butter. It's like not so much sandwich stuff, but with sliced apples.
Yeah.
Such a nice snack. I just think almond butter is slightly yummier.
It's not as
like almonds.
sweet or something, or as I know what you mean. It's a little more.
There's a little more of almost like a dessert twist to it. I like peanut butter.
A richness,
but
maybe.
I prefer almond butter, and I like it to be crunchy. I don't know why anybody chooses creamy.
If you're on the creamy side, please let us know.
Yeah.
Because I want to know your reasoning.
Oh, well, it's kind of like pulp versus non-pulp.
Yes.
Orange juice drinkers.
It's very
or,
interesting.
citrus of any kind. I'm pro pulp.
Oh, me too.
Not that I'm drinking like
Texture.
orange juice every day, but if I did, I'd be like, that's what tastes like fresh squeeze to me.
I think it's about texture, maybe.
Yeah, it is.
Love
for
me
sure.
some good
yeah,
texture.
I like the bump.
I'm on a whole animal cookie kick right now. It's weird. I go through these weird dessert phases where I'll get the same thing for a month and eat it every single night. And now I'm on this weird animal cookie thing. And it's a texture thing. I like the little cookies, and I like munch them while I'm watching a movie. And it's just such a joy, something I look forward to.
This is going to sound weird and or morbid. I haven't had an animal cookie in quite some time. But when I do eat them, because this is just like a little look into my psyche, is I always eat the head first because I think...
too.
Because if I just took a leg off, then it's still alive and suffering.
I do the same
so just
thing.
kill it and then eat the rest of it in whatever order you choose.
I swear I'm reverting back to being 14 years old. With all the things that I do. It's really funny. Animal cookies, man.
Right.
There goes my Marge Simpson laugh.
I don't think you sound like Marge Simpson, but we're actually recording this right now in the morning. It's not that early, but there are certain mornings where I don't really say anything out loud for a while.
Sure.
Because all the talking I'm doing is typing
Yeah.
to people online, or I'm, researching or whatever. But because I talk on video for a living, it's sometimes I'll write something and I'll be like, what does that sound like if I say it?
Exactly.
And I'll say it and I'm like, my voice
Yeah.
sounds like I've been smoking Pall Malls for 90 years. You really kind of got to warm it
it's
up.
so true.
Maybe that's where Marge Simpson's coming from, is you're tired.
I think
or
you're
it's
right. And I
early,
wonder
or-
if your laugh evolves as you age. It probably does. But I don't think I sound my regular laugh doesn't. But when I do this thing where I kind of snicker a little bit, toward the end of a laugh. And then I'm like, whoa. And it reminds me, did you ever watch that Boris and Natasha show? It was it was an airplane, and it was Bullwinkle. I think it was a Bullwinkle spinoff or something.
Oh, I don't think I did, no.
The little creature used to do a snicker. I don't sound like him, but it always reminds me of that. Mark Maron sounds like him, actually. He does a snicker, like the little Boris guy. Anyway.
People's laughs are funny.
They are.
I think we all have various types of laughs.
Sure.
Yeah, it's one where it's belly laugh, where you're I can't control
Yeah.
it. I'm just
it's
gonna spit
my
out
favorite thing in the world.
spit out my pulpy orange juice.
My
Yeah.
friend Lisa has the most amusing laugh of someone that I know, I think. And it's funny how it's when someone laughs in a way that you're ew, nah, I don't like the way you laugh. It does affect how you feel about them. It's a good thing to be fixated on.
Yeah, it's good for your abs or whatever. Yeah. God, speaking of abs, I've been doing these crunches. Crunches, something I discovered that the world doesn't know about, but I don't know. again, I'm doing my exercise thing where I'm like 50 crunches. That's not that hard. But I'm like, well, but I haven't done 50 crunches for like 6 months. So actually it is kind of hard at first.
I hate crunches.
It's not hard to do, but then the next day you're like, oh, wow, muscles engaged.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
It's like toward the end of a yoga class, you do a lot of like core stuff. And that's the time I usually go to the bathroom. I'm like, okay, late, I'll be back.
You're like, not necessary. Yeah, Pilates weirdos. Yeah. So anyway, lots of numbers going on for me. I'm counting all sorts of things. Oh, it's a friend of mine who he's actually doing the Noom diet, Noomalicious, Noomtastic. But it's something that's working for him. And so, the folks that he's talking to about it, because he's always kind of struggling with eating well and keeping a certain weight and all of that stuff. And so the rest of us are being very supportive. It's like, hey, whatever's working for you, do it. And he was talking about like the keto diet, right? Which is, it's basically just low carb, but I don't know, some version of it. I'm never going to do that because I eat oatmeal all day long. It's just not going to happen for me. But there was when you're doing the keto diet and you get into ketosis, you are like measuring your blood via strips that you put in your mouth. Really? I don't know. There's a whole thing. It's a whole thing involved because it's like something that can be measured by like the air that's being expelled from your body and like how much glucose gets measured.
Sounds like totally a lot of
talking
effort.
Out of turn right now. Sounds like a lot of effort, but like as he's explaining this, and I'm like, it sounds like a nightmare. I'm like, but I think a lot of people would think what I'm doing sounds like a nightmare as well. Like, how many calories in this hard-boiled egg I just ate? Let me look up the brand. Oh, look, it's pasture-raised. That's 10 more calories than the other brand. Interesting.
There's different.
I mean, I don't. Wow. Yeah, I know. I mean, who knows? A lot of this is just,
But you're like a math whiz, from what I recall.
Well, I'm not much of a whiz these days, but I really like this sort of thing, and trying to make sense of it, using
numbers,
fractions.
I think that's really cool.
And equations. Yeah. So anyway, I'm making the numbers work for me. I'm feeling pretty good. 30 days into this little experiment of mine. I'm going to go for 60. I'm going to be like, I mean, what the hell else am I going to do?
What do you have to lose, Sarah?
Besides go see my mom every once in a while.
Yeah, that's interesting. I would say that this week for me, Sarah, I think I'm at peak absent-mindedness. I don't know if that's ever happened to you, but I lost my phone at Target, but then I found it later. I was on some random shelf. I'm glad that nobody took it. A cork broke in a bottle of red wine, and when I poked it through, the whole thing created a geyser. And I happened to be wearing like my just cleaned white hoodie, of course. I mean, why would I be wearing I have like 8 black hoodies, but I happen to be wearing like the one light colored hoodie. Let's see, I left my...
It's Murphy's Law,
Law.
Red wine, you're wearing something white.
Gosh darn Murphy. I left my coffee cup like on the hood of my car like more than once. Anyway, other than the absent-mindedness and my Marge Simpson laugh, I've been very productive. And this is a different kind of productive that's a little strange. I've never really done this before, but I've been snooping around my dad's office because I have to find things. And I'm talking like not looking on the computer, no, not digital. I'm looking at papers. I'm looking at files. I'm looking at boxes of files and papers and files, boxes, and, that kind of thing. It's interesting what you can kind of learn about somebody. I know that my dad was very private, and I think it would be hard for him to know that we're going through his stuff. And, there's nothing like so private that's like scandalous or anything, but we were looking for a legal document that was signed. We needed it. It was the only document that like our kind of like business manager didn't have a copy of because my dad did the business, but we needed it. And honestly, it was really touch and go. I didn't think we would find it because it wasn't digitized. It was quite a funny little scene. We ended up finding it. It was in a random folder with a random name. You would have never guessed it was in there, but it made me really think about how people are organized. And it's not that my dad was like totally unorganized, but he was more of sort of like not you, you're organized, Sarah, in your own way, but like you have a math mind, but you're also creative. My dad was really mathy too. Like he was a really like genius when it came to, he always was very calculating and business like, and he was an electrical engineer, but he wasn't good at, he was brilliant at making hardware, but when it comes to software and digital lifestyle stuff, he's not very savvy. So I'm dealing with a lot of paper. And, you know, it's interesting to kind of see how it worked for him, like what was his method of his madness kind of thing. And I found like he did so many philanthropic things, like giving money to like the symphony up here and like helping them with their books and like small business stuff, like helping people, like not expecting to be paid. Like he did it he just loved doing it. He loved to help people, you know, his tchotchkes. He was a very nostalgic person. And at the end of this crazy experience, I found this box and it was like in the back of his closet and it had like 12 heart-shaped rocks in it. And that's like all that was in the box. And my dad was a total romantic. And I just thought, man, it's so cute, you know, like so adorable, especially when a man like holds on to something like that. And I was just sort of wondering, Sarah, I figured like, what would someone say if they looked through my stuff? I think off the top of my head, they'd say something like, this bitch liked shoes or something. What would someone learn about you, Sarah, if they were going through your stuff?
Oh gosh. I don't hold on to a lot of things. Well, maybe, I don't know. That's sort of half true. I am much less of a pack rat than I used to be. And that's mostly because I move a lot.
Yeah.
And so every time I move, I'm like, I'm getting rid of more than what I'm bringing in, even though I still have plenty of junk. But as I look around, my studio is kind of where a lot of my storage also is. And it's mostly electronics. I probably have a lot more photo albums than the average person because now everything's digital. I mean, I haven't printed out a photo in 10 years, gosh, probably at least. But I have always been, you know, I've always got a camera. That started when I was really young. And so, like, I don't know, like 5 boxes are all just photo albums.
Yeah. There were a lot of those in his office too. Lots of old photos.
And like I would take my camera to school like in 5th grade and like take like 3 rolls of film and make a photo album out of it. Like kids I wasn't even really that close with, but I was like, I'm documenting.
That's cool.
And that stuff is like, I'll never throw that away because I don't even know what it offers anyone, but it's like, oh, I just would never throw that away.
It's cool. It was what you
don't
were into.
get rid of photos. Yeah. Like I'm actually very anti getting rid of photos. You know, where people say like, oh, I broke up with somebody and I deleted everything from my camera roll, or like I deleted all our Instagram photos, and I'm like, that's a memory. I don't know. I don't like that.
The only thing I've thrown away is like old printed photos that are like blurry landscapes of like a trip I went on or something. I'm like, why do I need this?
Right. Well, they always say, and you know, we never follow the rule. It's like you go somewhere cool for the first time. Like the first time I went to Paris, it's like, how many photos did I take of like cool buildings I'd never seen before? Like, do I need those photos? No, they're all on the internet. Yeah. It's the photo of like my cousin at the top of the Eiffel Tower with like the wind in her hair, where I'm like, oh my God, you know, that's the stuff that you care about
100%.
Later.
Yeah. Well, I would like to know, you patrons out there, do you have any idea of what people would discover about you? I know that Buchanan, one of our regulars, would probably say something about shoes, but let us know, or better yet, become a $5 bala and join our Discord and tell us there.
Indeed. If you're more of an email person, hi@havessuchagoodday.com is cool too.
Totally.
Email, yeah, you know, if you want to chat in real time, you want to email us, you want to leave us a nice iTunes review. Those are all things that Heather and I would be delighted by. It's funny you mention the things that your dad had saved or collected, or, you know, you kind of figure out like, oh, okay, this is sort of his filing rationale. You know, and I found the thing I was looking for, but it took a while because it wasn't immediately obvious, that kind of thing. I don't remember, you know, when my dad passed away, I mean, this was a long time ago, my mom, well, I think they were already sharing a lot of that stuff. So it wasn't like there were all these secrets for her to uncover as far as, you know, where that document was. But there was always this large trunk. Like it kind of looked like a pirate's chest, and there was a big lock on the front of it. And it was my dad's, and it was always locked, and it was always in our garage, wherever we happened to live. And it never got opened. And when I was a kid, I was like obsessed with it. Like, can we open your trunk? Because I knew it was like, ooh, dad's special trunk. And he was always like, nope, that's mine. That's your dad's stuff. But one day we will. And we never did. But when he passed away, I think he had probably told my mom, here's the key and it's fine. You can look through my trunk. And it was, there was nothing like of value, mostly photography, because he was like, he gave me all my photography know-how, and he also pursued it as a profession before I was born. So there was, a period where he was taking it really seriously, and I think some memorabilia and some trinkets and little things, but it was like opening someone's brain.
Oh yeah,
because this was all stuff that it wasn't even really mind-blowing, but it was like stuff that he considered part of, his life and was important, and carried it with him forever, until he couldn't anymore. And it was really neat. It was like, oh wow, this was his private life, and there really wasn't anything else besides that trunk that I felt he had only to himself.
Yeah, no, it's really a strange experience doing that. You feel like, God, are they watching me right now? Or, not that there was any deep, dark secrets, but still, it's someone's personal space. But it was also a walk down memory lane,
Yeah. I wonder sometimes because I know that this is something that is really fresh for you. And I've definitely gotten over that whole, oh, are they in heaven, like watching my every move now? Because it can be a little disconcerting. If you do something that, I don't know, like if I was like, oh, my dad would be like disappointed in me that I'm, I don't know, choosing this path, or, you're taking a shower. Like it's like weird stuff where you're just like, where do they go? What's happening now? But we can't control it. No matter no matter what's going on or not going on, we can't control it. You got to live.
It's the mystery of life, Sarah. And who knows? There's could be some other dimension we just don't know about.
I know.
But I hope he's in a good place.
I always like to, I'm not much of a religious person, and I have no idea what happens after we die. It'd be cool if something does, but it might just not. I don't know. Does it all go black? I don't know. But I do. I don't look forward to dying, but I would be like so tickled if, at the moment I pass, there really is this other place, and everyone who went there before me is like, yay,
so
you made
awesome.
It. I guess that would be heaven, or, the concept of it, but it's like, I'm just going to be like, I knew it.
It's kind of like
it is cool
it's kind of
here.
Like that show, The Good Place. Have you seen that with Ted Danson and Kristen Bell?
I started and I thought it was great, and then I fell off, and people love it, so I'll have to circle back.
So one quick thing about that, it is a brilliant show in terms of like the writing. It's very, very funny and very unique. Great dialogue. And good performances. But my problem with it is it's like on a set. It's on a lot, like a film lot. And so it doesn't feel, it's not like shot on location, or it doesn't have like that realness. It feels like you're on like a stage. And I think I'm not a huge fan of those shows anymore. It feels very like back in time, like watching Three's Company or something.
Talked a little about Three's Company on our Discord. In fact, see what you're missing, people.
The Jeffersons,
the Discord
too.
Listeners are like, I'm not missing anything. You really went on and on about it.
Oh man, yeah, it's so fun.
Three's Company, good times. Yep. Well, I read an article that spoke to me over the last week. This one comes from Vice. And the headline is, scientists achieve real-time communication with lucid dreamers in breakthrough.
Oh my God, I love this.
Like this is literally like, a headline where I'm like, oh my God, so exciting. Because, and I would be surprised if I haven't talked about it on the show before, because I'm like so proud of myself for lucid dreaming exactly once. Full lucid dreaming, meaning I was in the dream, I said, am I dreaming? And I decided, yes, I am, because I was. Yeah. And then I did something crazy with no repercussions because it wasn't real and I knew it. I have gotten so close so many times since then, and probably before. This is like years ago that I did this, where I'm like, am I dreaming? And I always come to the conclusion that like, no, I'm not. This is real. And then I wake up and I'm like, I asked myself and I just was wrong. Like I was so close. I'm questioning reality, but I can't get past the fact that it's for sure not real, because weird things are happening and it's just not real. So So I love lucid
me
dreaming
too.
stuff. Now, this particular study, it was research done about, it's kind of the opposite of what I just described. Like when you're in the dream, and this is lucid dreaming is closely related to REM sleep, rapid eye movement, that's the dream that most people, like you, when you wake up and you're like, oh my gosh, I was just dreaming like the wildest thing, and you lose the details as the day goes on, but it can be really vivid and it can stay with you too. That's most of what we remember as like crazy dreams or nightmares or whatever, just that very descriptive, colorful, detail-oriented stuff is happening when you come out of REM sleep. And so that's when you wake up and you're like, oh, that was so crazy. Why did I dream that? Oh yeah, I was thinking about that person. That's why that person showed up in a really weird situation. Like it kind of makes sense. You can kind of start to piece together what was going on in your brain, even though the situation might just be like fantastical. Like it was you, but you were like a fish.
Yeah, totally.
Like just weird stuff where you're like, wow,
it was you, but it wasn't you.
Totally, yeah. And the person you're telling is like, yeah, it's so interesting. You're like, I'm not describing it well. It was so weird. Listen. But this particular research was, instead of the what do you get from your dream and bring back with you, it's what can you, like a stimulus that while you're lucid dreaming, you can bring into your dream. So, and again, this is like, the research was, I don't know if it's going to blow you away or not, but it was like, okay, so let's say I'm a test subject and I was part of this test and they put me down, they got stuff strapped to my head so they understand like electrodes and like, okay, she's in REM. And they say something like, what's 2 plus 2? Like count with your eyes, like 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of thing. And they said part of the time it didn't work, but it worked enough of the time where it's like, okay, this person is down, but they are understanding the command and they are giving me the appropriate answer. Or even if it's not like, okay, 2 plus 2 is not 3, but they're trying. They've like understood that there was a command or a question and we're getting real-time feedback back while they're in that state, not awake. And they can remember, yeah, I heard you later on. I heard you, but you were like a narrator in my dream. Or you came up to me on a hill and you asked me a question, I answered you. The people remember it as being inside that world that they were in. Not like, oh, you woke me up and asked me a question and I answered and then I went back to sleep. It's different. And I find that so fascinating. And I remember, this is very, very random because I'm like, gosh, no one's really talking to me when I'm asleep. First of all, I live alone, so that's not really happening. Or if they were talking to me, I think I would just wake up and be like, what's wrong? What do you need? Like, I don't know if this is something that I've ever done. I can't remember, or somebody didn't tell me. But a long time ago, this is like, I lived in Sebastopol. I lived with my parents, and I had this boyfriend who had surgery. And like surgery so that he was taking like painkillers, so he could be comfortable and sleep, for a period of time. And I remember being with him and he was a little out to lunch, for like a week, just kind of like Vicodin, kind of napping and stuff. And I remember talking to him at one point, and it was like, I wasn't trying to like F with him, but I was like, he's totally sleeping, but he like hears me and he's kind of like mumbling back stuff that's somewhat lucid. And I always chalked it up to, well, because he's on drugs right now, And I'm sure that was part of it, because he was like, what's real? Oh, I'm a little loopy. But it was kind of the same thing. And I remember being like, this is insane. I can kind of like communicate with him right now. And then when he would wake up, I'd be like, do you remember what we were talking about? And he'd be like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. But I think it's like that was kind of the same thing that I'm talking about here with this research. I don't know how this like helps anybody. Like, hey, Sarah, you should do some complicated algebra while you're sleeping and lucid, and Heather can like bark questions at you from like the doorway.
It would be a fun experiment.
It's still just so cool because dreams are there's so many questions about them.
I love dreams. I used to read like dream symbolism I love. And I've had conversations with partners over the years because I talk in my sleep, and a lot of the partners would talk back and try to get me to engage. And it has happened where they're like, you talked back to me and it kind of made sense.
Yeah. See, I think that's sort of what I'm talking about here is it's kind of like, it's not like gobbledygook. I mean, sometimes it is, but sometimes it's like, no, we're in between two worlds here.
Totally.
But you're kind of present.
Yeah, this is actually a good topic because we were just talking about like where you go when you die and then the dream state. I mean, you can kind of equate because you're in a different universe, like in your head. And there's got to be a lot of these different layers out there. I mean, think about how complex our brains are and how complex the universe is. I mean, it makes sense to me. And it's not really magic or fantasy per se. It's just like science and I don't know, like the stars.
Yes, just like astrology.
Anyway, yeah, I don't know if all y'all are being extra creative right now. Like maybe this downtime and all these strange experiences you're having is making you more creative or less creative. Maybe you're in like a writing block rut kind of thing. It's funny. Like I said before on the show, like I feel like my like dark comedy screenplay is writing itself every day. I mean, I can't keep up with writing all this stuff down. Like I kick myself because I'm like, this is actually like could be a really cool movie or a graphic novel or something. And I write down little blurbs here and there, but I'm just not that disciplined to sit down on a blank piece of paper and like write a script. And I mean, I remember the first movie I did back in, I don't even know what year it was, but it was the first short film I did. It was a dark comedy. And the way I created the script was from a bunch of little blurbs and pieces of dialogue that I thought were funny. And I wrote them down in like a little moleskin, and I literally used those little snippets. So snippets, I think, can be really helpful to create something from. But I would say like I definitely have a lot of creativity right now. It's, I think we're kind of in a vacuum in a way. And I think sometimes it is hard to be creative in a vacuum because I mean, we're not traveling, we're not really having a very diverse existence. So I'm sure some of you out there can relate. But I have a lovely little thing that's not expensive that can probably stimulate some creativity in you. And it is called the Taschen Simple Diary. And if y'all don't know what Taschen is, it's Taschen. It's a German art book publisher. They do incredible coffee table books. I've mentioned this on the show. You guys should look it up. They have the coolest books in the world. This simple diary, I didn't really know about it, even though I was very aware of Taschen, it's like $15. It was created by a Swiss artist and writer. His name is Philip Keep. So it's called Kiel's Simple Diary. It's very popular and very mainstream. I just wasn't totally aware of it. It's essentially a diary that's structured so that you don't have to stare at a blank page, which is really good for me because I need like prompts, and it's like inspiration to record your everyday life without it being this blank piece of paper, which is daunting for me. A lot of people don't like to write in long form. I know some people who are like writing all day long and they love the long form and that's great. Like I envy that. But what it does, it's broken down. Every page has like multiple choice questions and it starts out with like your day was, and you pick, there's 3 choices. So like, for example, your day was ... the naked truth, itchy, or dressed to impress. And then like another one, your day was driven into a frenzy, shattered, or vibrant. And it goes on and on and on. There's many, many pages of a lot of different examples.
Right. So even if like you're like, well, that wasn't totally my day, but this is the one closest
exactly
to how I feel.
Exactly. And so yesterday I had like a weird day of just meh. I just was like meh all day. I just was like really tired and kind of walking around like a zombie. So I pulled up a page that said, and this is the first page I ever did. Like this is a new book. I got it for, I guess my birthday. Your day was, and you only choose one. This one said calm, overcast, or an empty toolbox. I was tempted to check the empty toolbox, but I went with overcast because I felt kind of like under the clouds kind of thing. And then below it, it says explain why. So there's like 2 lines, like explain why. And so I wrote, just kind of meh. Because I didn't have a lot of creativity yesterday. And that's okay.
Yeah.
And then they have below that, it'll ask another question like, your aspirations are on vacation, yes or no? And I put yes. And then below that is a quote that's like a piece of wisdom or a piece of philosophy. This one says, most people do not have time to be tired. And it differs on each page. And then the bottom part says, where will you be in 10 years from now? And then it says, make a sketch, a drawing, or a collage, or disregard, which I think is great. So like you don't even have to participate if you don't want to, but there's a box, and so you can draw a picture or whatever. And what it is, it like keeps you company. It's like I'm not a diary person. I think journals can be really daunting. But I love this style of like the multiple choice, and every single page gives you a different activity. You write, you draw, you sketch, whatever it is. It's entertaining.
It's like some structure that you look forward to.
Yeah, it's so fun. And it's like you can basically like open it up to a random page, and it's like, even if you're not inspired by it, turn to another page. Like one more example. These things, they're very funny because the guy's a writer, the guy who created this. Thinking of your home, you A, want to get a bulldozer, B, feel homesick, C, need to change a few things, or D, are proud. So it's just, again, lots of variety. It helps you examine your mind and how you think. And it comes in a lot of neat colors. I have hot pink naturally, but you can get blue or green or yellow. They're pretty fun. And there's also an app. So if you prefer to kind of write on your phone or maybe even on a desktop, I'm not sure, but check it out. It's called The Simple Diary by Tashin.
That's really cool. That sounds fun. Yeah, I have friends who, nobody calls it diaries anymore. They call it journaling. And I know people who are real, and I know that this is like, journaling is like, it's not just like, oh, like a couple people do. It's like a whole thing that, a lot of people say is really good for self-awareness and, can help combat anxiety. And, it's a nice release. And I feel as though I don't have time for this. It's just not a thing that I feel like I'm doing. I write a lot for work. And so I'm like, if I'm not writing for work, I'm not writing a whole hell of a lot, like even a long letter to a friend, I'm like, oh god, it's gonna take a while.
Birthday card.
Right. But journaling, I know people who are so, they really enjoy it. They find it helpful, and they will reference like a friend of mine, I don't even remember what it was, but they were able to go back like a few months and be like, oh yeah, on October 1st, I was feeling that way because I wrote about it in the journal, and I was talking about so-and-so, and I'm like, wow, it's like very interesting because of course, like you said, you had a meh day yesterday, or, maybe it was like a awful day where you're just like, oh, I need to like sit down and cry for a minute. And then a week later, you're like, oh, I don't feel that way anymore. But if you look at, the emotion that might have come out on the page when you did feel that way, you're like, wow, that was really real.
Yeah.
And I really don't feel that way anymore. That's really interesting.
And it'll be fun to look back on. It reminds me of that show, How To with John Wilson. He had that memory episode, and he said he doesn't have a very, this is an HBO show we talked about way back, but he doesn't have a very good memory. And I feel like my memory can be kind of spotty. And for me, I kind of liked his whole idea of writing down everything he did in those little squares, because you can like look back and it reminds you of things that you've forgotten, like lovely things. So hopefully I'll stick with it. It's one of those things that you're like, oh, this is so novel, I'm so excited. And then you do one page and you forget about it.
Yeah. I remember, this is like so random, but I had gone through, everything traumatic in my life is like about losing people, whether it's like a breakup or somebody dies, whatever. That's pretty standard, but those are like my lowest point. I can
Sure.
I know exactly when those were, even though it's, a memory now in the past, but I had gone through a breakup, this is ages ago, and I was having a really hard time with it. And there was this this is like pre-smartphones. This is a while ago, but there was an internet service where it's like, you would send a message to yourself to be emailed that message in an elapsed amount of time into the future.
Totally.
I'm sure there are still lots of things that do this, but at the time it was like, whoa, I can send. What I did was I sent an email to myself to be delivered 1 year into the future. And at the time, I was like bummed, I was like, oh, I miss so and so, and I'm super bummed. And I wrote this thing like, be proud of how much has changed in 1 year. I'm paraphrasing. I don't exactly remember, but the whole point was, even though I was in like the depths of despair at the time, I knew that in a year I wouldn't feel that way anymore. I might feel good or bad for other reasons, but like time heals.
Totally.
Time heals things that, seem like a really big deal at the time. And of course I forgot about it because it was a year. And I got the email, and sure enough, my life was completely different. I was in a super good place, and I was like, holy shit.
That worked.
Like, it wasn't anything, like it wasn't like I was predicting anything all that, novel. But it was like, I was so tickled by it.
Yeah, it's
like,
such a friendly reminder.
That was like such a, it was a fun little gift
I love
that I got. And
you should do that more often.
Yeah. Well, maybe I will. I gotta wait till I get into the depths of despair again, and then I'll be like, "Come on, Sarah, you just need a year." I actually, a friend of mine, I'll keep it vague because it's private stuff, but they are going through what is probably going to be a divorce.
Wow.
And super bummed, and it's kind of a dramatic situation, and it just. My friend, who I've known for a really long time, is understandably really crushed about the whole thing and trying to navigate, and there's children involved and bad news. And I try in moments like this to be some sort of a combination of, you know what, in a year, you're going to look back on this and you're going to remember how you felt, but you won't feel like this anymore. So it's like part of me wants to say that, and I know that it's true. And part of me knows that when you're really in that hole, it's not that helpful sometimes to hear that from people, because you're just like, I know, but that's not how I feel now, and I have to wallow a little bit. So and I don't think one or the other is like, I don't want to keep my mouth shut, I want to be supportive, but you kind of like gently remind people of that, because
it does help.
Because everyone knows,
and being somebody on the
that is the way
exactly,
it is.
And being on the outside with an objective point of view is helpful. Like when your friend is like in this subjective hell, you can just be objective and be like, you're going to be fine. And it's true, your memory doesn't remember a lot of the yucky, painful stuff, which is kind of amazing.
Oh gosh, I mean, there are people. I mean, I don't know, it depends on the day, but like there are people living in the world that I am not cool with. I mean, there's just like a couple of them, right? But it's like, we are not cool. We're never going to be cool. But at one point we were. And I still sometimes have a happy memory of that person. And like, it doesn't upset me.
No hard feelings.
I'm like, that was a really fun memory. Or I remember that day, like how much we laughed. Or I remember the thing that person did that I always really liked. And then I'll be like, well, fuck him, little evil monster. But even so, it's like, there was a time where I'd be like, I can't remember anything good about you. I hate you.
Yeah, of course.
But still, it's never that cut and dry.
No, it really isn't. Nothing is, Sarah. Absolutely nothing.
Well, I'm glad that you're tell me the name of it. Taschen?
Oh, Taschen. Taschen. It's German. Taschen.
That's pretty cool. That sounds fun. Maybe I'll get myself a nice hot pink diary.
I want to get you one, but I'm
up.
worried because you don't like pens.
That's true.
Are you not going to do it because you don't like pens?
Well, you said there's an app.
Yeah, there is an app. That's true. I'm going to look into the app and I'll get back to you.
Yeah, it's true. I was about to be like, well, I don't hate pens, but I do. I actually hate pens. So that's just I like a nice pen. Like a fountain pen where you're like, ooh, this writes nicely.
Okay, that's what I was just going to say. I just bought 4 pens that were $10, which, is kind of steep, I guess, but they're like the Uniball, like good, fine point, like nice pens. Because I don't like writing either, but I like those pens. And it makes writing actually more of a joy. So I think you just need to find a pen that you like.
But the thing is like, there are pens where when I write with them, I'm like, oh, this is pleasing.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, okay,
I'm done.
I don't want to. That was a fun experience.
Well, maybe you could get a typewriter and you could type on the pages or something.
God, I have a computer, Heather. I don't want these analog things. I think this all stems from, is because I'm left-handed.
Yeah.
And, with pens, when you get to a point in school where it's like you're writing a book report, it has to be like blue or black ink, right?
Sure.
Like no pencils, no like hearts over the eyes. Like there were like all these rules, but it was all longhand still. And, my left hand would just be a huge smudge of either blue or black ink because you're dragging your hand across the page, no matter how, like you'd have to write so weird in order not to do that. And left-handed people around the world know what I'm talking about. If you're of an age where you used to write a lot of long, like front and back, notebook paper. And I also like never had the best penmanship. I mean, it was fine, but it was just like, I never sort of looked at a long thing and was like, oh, this is so nice. I was always like, it's like smudgy and like I like messed up here.
Me too. I hate my writing.
Yeah,
I'm very
and so
critical
it's
of my
like,
writing.
And I'm a really good typist. I'm fast.
Me too.
I just find it to be much more, I don't know.
Pleasurable.
It is pleasurable. It's the way I do my stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, so on that note, how do you do your stuff? Email us. Tell us about your lucid dreams, what you were feeling yesterday, what you wrote down in your diary, if you're counting the ounces of water that you're taking in all day. I mean, we talked about a lot of stuff
We
today on
ask
the
a
show,
lot
Heather.
of you every
We do.
week.
And we expect greatness.
We do.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think? What is this, a passive exercise, everybody? Get
No,
on
there's
the
homework.
ball. There's homework.
You can't have such a good day without doing a little bit of homework, all right?
Indeed. You have a lot of ways that you can give us feedback. As we mentioned, hi@havesuchagooddday.com is our email address. We love those emails.
You can also leave us an iTunes review. In fact, we got one recently that's really sweet. It is from a number person.
A number person? That's what that
It's just
username
like
is?
Yeah, the username. Refreshing and enjoyable, they say. 5 stars. Thank you so much. Sarah and Heather
that's
bring
nice.
a unique perspective to their podcast. It's both educational and entertaining to hear them share their life experiences. One can always count on discussions of life's challenges in a positive tone. Well, hopefully we're
that's
always
cool.
positive. It's like catching up with 2 friends at a neighborhood pub or coffee shop. If only we could do that, right?
Yeah, no kidding.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, in fact, that kind of encapsulates what we're going for here. Heather and I sometimes sit down and it's like, I don't know, do we even have a show? Like, let's just get going. And we always do, because that's just how it works. This is it is a weekly diary of sorts.
It is. And in fact, I think our show is actually under the genre of like personal diaries or personal, there's something you have to like.
That's probably something I did when I submitted it to iTunes.
Yeah. But it
many
made
moons
sense
ago.
at the time because it's really, I mean, it's not tech, it's not, pop culture. It's not, it's some of those things, but it's essentially a bit more of a personal
You could call it a show about nothing, but a really, really good one.
But it's a show about everything at the same time.
Yeah,
It's like a
nothing and
Seinfeld
everything.
thing.
It's very deep, very deep.
Very, very deep.
And for anybody who's like, well, iTunes, but that's not how I listen to you, that's cool. And we're, listen, write us a nice review if you feel like it. It's certainly not mandatory,
No.
but just know that if you do enjoy the show, those reviews help us get on more lists. We might be, picked for Podcast of the Week, and then maybe we get some more patrons as a result. So if it's something that you have time to do and you like the show, we really appreciate it. It really does make a difference for us, because that's where a lot of people do discover new content.
Exactly. And it could lead to bigger things. I mean, who knows, when the world opens up, maybe we do live shows where we can meet you in person. I mean, who knows? The world is our oyster after this pandemic ends.
I will be, I know, tomorrow. No, it's not gonna be tomorrow, but I am so just kind of like ready for, I don't know. I was about to say public speaking, but I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm never ready for that. But yeah, something where it's like a group, not a one-on-one,
not a convention,
not 3 of us, but like kind of, like a fun thing where you can like, oh, let me shake your hand kind of stuff.
I think that would be super fun. Like a little, it's like almost a newfangled, intimate convention sort of thing. Because I don't know. I mean, are conventions going to come back? It seems a little risky to me.
Yeah, I think there are certain things in life that are never going to bounce completely back to the olden days, the before times. And that's a good and a bad thing. And real quick, we don't want to belabor, because I know we thank you and also ask of you every week. If you're not a patron, please consider becoming one for as little as $1 a month. That's 25 cents per show, because we do 4 of these once a week each month.
We're so damn cheap.
Yeah, we really are, but we know that you appreciate good value.
Yes, that's right.
And counting your pennies, saving them rather, counting your
chickens,
saving your pennies, counting your
chickens before they hatch or something. Mixing our metaphors as usual.
As usual. But if you are not already a patron, first of all, if you are, thank you so much.
Shout out
we
to
really
you.
Appreciate you. We have more patrons than we've ever had, and it's a slow and steady wins the race kind of thing with us. But if you're not, patreon.com/havesuchagoodday is where you can find out more about getting on the team, joining our Discord, and just kind of helping us, because we are a community effort. We don't get paid for this, but it is production and helps us keep the lights on. Every little bit helps, and it helps strengthen, like Heather said, what we'd like to do in the future.
Exactly. We have lofty goals. We're a couple classy ladies with a cheap show and lofty goals.
That's right. Yeah, we're living the dream and reaching for the stars. By the way, Scrambled Eggs, who
I love that name.
I know, Scrambled Eggs. It's a handle. Did up his Patreon pledge. Sent us a little note about doing so, and did not go unnoticed. Thank you so much to everybody. We know it's a tough time for a lot of folks. These are very lean days, certainly for me, and we completely understand that you might be in a situation where you can't do that. If you can, thank you so much, and just keep up the positive attitudes.
Yeah, seriously, you guys are awesome. Total shout out to all y'all, and also follow us on Instagram and Twitter at have. It's an acronym.
Heather, my gosh.
Let's start this over. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at HSGD Show. And, we try to promote as much as possible. Follow us and we'll chat with you. I know some of you just joined our Instagram, so thank you. We love having our people close to home.
Indeed. Well, I think this wraps up another fun-filled, exciting show.
Sure does.
Heather and I will be back to do it all next week. We hope until then you stay warm, you stay hydrated, you stay as happy as possible, you write down your dreams,
and episode 88.
Palindrome episode. We're not going to have one until 11 weeks from now when it's episode 99, which is also like a really fun episode.
That's super fun. I'm surprised you didn't talk about them the entire show.
Oh, palindromes. I didn't even really think about it, weirdly. Palindromes are my favorite thing, whether it's a word or a number. I can't think of anything I like more.
You got lots of favorite things. It's all good.
It's just so symmetrical. I love it. It's a perfectly balanced seesaw. All right, I'm getting out of here because I'm entering Crazy Town.
Gotta go.
All right, until next week, I will be Sarah.
And I will be Heather.
Have such a good day.
Bye.